Transportation Safety Board holding a briefing on last month's mid-air collision between an Army helicopter and a passenger jet near Reagan National Airport.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy says the crew on the Army's Black Hawk helicopter may not have heard air traffic control's order to pass behind the passenger jet before the aircrafts collided.
Transmission was stepped on by a 0.8-second mic key from the Black Hawk. The Black Hawk was keying the mic to communicate with ATC.
Officials also looking into the possibility of bad altimeter data that could have led the helicopter pilots to see a different altitude than the aircraft actually was, and whether the Black Hawk's automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, ADSB, was not transmitting because of a malfunction or because it was turned off.
Fox's Christine Goodwin. The helicopter was on a training mission. Investigators now say they believe crew members were wearing night vision goggles throughout the flight. A federal judge in New York holding off on a ruling for now in a multi-state challenge to Elon Musk and his government efficiency team, arguing in part the executive branch is violating the separation of powers. A second similar case being heard by a federal judge in D.C. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi telling Fox News
they will fail. It's the president's right to control the budget, and these are our tax dollars that have been squandered away.
The lawsuits aim to block access to Treasury payments while the legal fights continue. President Trump says he's reopening more than 600 million acres offshore to oil and gas development after President Biden took those federal waters off the table. The president also ending a Biden pause on exports of liquefied natural gas. A mixed finish on Wall Street, the Dow down 165 at the bell. America is listening to Fox News.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with DayQuil VapoCool. It's DayQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let Mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is DayQuil VapoCool.
DayQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Attorney General Pam Bondi suggesting the corruption case against New York Mayor Eric Adams was weaponization of the Justice Department after Adams had criticized Biden administration immigration policies. Also telling Fox News she expects a motion to be filed today for that case to be dismissed. Several federal prosecutors resigned yesterday, refusing to drop the case, including acting lead U.S. Attorney in Manhattan, Daniel Sassoon.
Fox News obtained a Wednesday letter from Sassoon to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Sassoon explained she was not comfortable dropping the case. She wrote, rather than be rewarded, Adams' advocacy should be called out for what it is, an improper offer of immigration enforcement and assistance for exchange for dismissal of his case.
Fox's David Spud. Adams denies any wrongdoing, including any quid pro quo to get his case dropped, as he allows greater cooperation with federal immigration agents. An 86-year-old Kansas City man pleads guilty to a lesser charge in the shooting of a black honor student who rang the white man's doorbell by mistake, ending up at the wrong house while picking up his siblings. The boy, then 16, was shot twice but survived. The homeowner's attorney argued he was acting in self-defense, terrified by a stranger at the door. Andrew Lester pleading guilty to second-degree assault. He had been scheduled to stand trial next week on multiple counts. Taiwan is responding to President Trump's threatened tariffs on computer chips.
Today, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te held a national security meeting, quickly reacting to President Donald Trump's tariff threats and pressure on the island's semiconductor industry. Lai announced plans to strengthen communication with the U.S. and create what he calls a win-win scenario with expanded investments and procurement in the United States. It comes after President Donald Trump warned he could impose tariffs up to 100% on foreign made chips unless these companies set up facilities in America.
Fox's Alex Hogan. Again, the Dow finishes lower, but the NASDAQ in the green. Elisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello, this is Michelle Gonzalez, the Executive Director at the CU Schools Foundation. We are going to be having a We Are the Schools Music Fest on February 16th. That's a Sunday from 1 to 7 at the City Center in Champaign. We will be having 10 bands featuring school teachers, staff members, and students. Family friendly for all. Tickets are $40. We have discounted prices for our staff members, students, and their families. So please come and enjoy the day. It is going to be on Sunday, February 16th at the City Center starting at 1 o'clock. It'll go till 7 o'clock. You can get more event details at cuschoolsfoundation.org.
Want free tickets to the next home Illini game? Text in Illini to 217-359-2255 and try to win from Express Employment Professionals, recruiting top talent and connecting them to great opportunities. At Stevie J Broadcasting, we love saying, Go Illini!
Hey, what's up? Happy Friday. It is The Drive with Tay and Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Lante, Kyle Tosk.
Friday. Hans D's coming in later.
Hans D will be joining us in the 4 hour.
We're doing
bringing
like a,
candy hearts.
Yeah, right. We're doing like a relay. Like I'm passing the baton to him on my way to a basketball game. So, can I just start with something?
Go for it.
I am like having anxiety attacks over senior night tomorrow. Like, truly, like I've cried like 10 times in the last week.
Man.
I am just, I did have a buddy today that was kind of funny. Tim Hiley from Mount Zion. He played baseball at Eastern, really good baseball player. We played softball together. And he was texting about the show. He listens to our show all the time. So he's like, I can't wait to hear this breakdown on the Cardinals. And I said, don't go into it with too much thought. We were just kind of joking around about things. So, and then I just made it an off comment because both of his kids have graduated high school. And I said, and he's younger than me. I'm like, man, how old am I? Like that I still have a kid in high. Anyway, so I said something about senior night and he's like, oh man, it's tough. He's like, good luck, And so about 10 minutes later, my phone, the text comes through again from him and I pick it up and it says, I just realized like when my kids were going through senior night, I started thinking to myself, I'm getting old. He's like, the good news with you is you're just old. So it's not
you're not getting there.
You're already old is what he said. So I just started laughing. I'm like, okay. I called him a bad word and I was like, all right, at least that'll give me something to laugh about.
Thanks for helping.
Right. But it's just, I don't know. I can't talk about this or I'll start crying. It's tough. Like, I know he's got baseball still to go, and he's going to go play college baseball, and that's awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
But, like, this is it for basketball, right? In the next month, hopefully they'll keep playing. But, all those times you go out and shoot hoops with them, and, you're just starting that. And then all of a sudden to just have, like, this end date, almost like, hey, it's senior night. And then, like, all the other dads that are, like their kids are juniors or below, and they're like, oh, man, you're going to be balling, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. They're like, dude, we're going to be watching you like a hawk. It's just hard. It's really hard. I know a lot of our listeners have been through it, and, it's just kind of a end of an era, I guess. Like it won't. I feel like baseball won't be as hard because he's going on to play.
Right.
But this is it for basketball, and it's like, oh, my gosh. I've joked with you guys. Next year, I'm going to have listeners just send me their schedules. And just give me, like Monday night, I'll go watch, like, this person's kid play at St. Joe, and then I'll go to Unity the next night, and I'll go to STM. I just am going to need something to do because I'm just not looking forward to not having basketball to go watch. I love that he loves baseball and that he's good at it, but he's pretty good at basketball, and that was always my favorite sport. So it's just, I don't know. There's something about that gym in a big game. Baseball's great, but you're outside, and it's just kind of like, it's not the same to me. So basketball is just a whole nother level. And I know people have gone through it with football. You had to do it with football and such. That would be extremely hard. And, golf, all that stuff. It's difficult. So, all right, I'm going to now fire up on a Friday.
Hopefully they have a nice extended run in the postseason to keep bringing you more basketball.
That would be great. That would be an added bonus, and I will certainly take any extra game I can find.
I do look forward to next year. We're like, Lon's off tonight. He's got a basketball game. Wait, Andrew's done. Yeah, he's doing that Rent-A-Kid program. Tommy's got a game in Tuscola, and Lon's got him for this year, and then...
That's so funny. I like have all these adopted kids that I don't really adopt, but I just go watch them play. It's like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it will be. I'm ready. Let's go.
All right.
We need Cade to get older quick.
I know. Well, not too quick.
Yeah, I know.
But
you don't want
maybe
to
get you out
quick.
to a T-ball game before too long. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Imagine me and you being like the manager and bench coach.
I'll be out in like right field like, Cade! You got to get in front of that. Come on. Gosh, dang it. And Haley's up there like with her parents going, now, that's Lon, right? Yeah. We shouldn't have invited him. I told Derek to tell him like the next game's canceled. No, I think it'd be kind of...
I think you should be the third base coach and like just actually have a stop sign. Like if you hit the ball and run to third base again, I swear, we're packing up all the bats and we're just leaving.
We're going home. Everybody pack them up. Let's go. And Tommy, if you start crying again, I'm telling you right now, you will never see another inning.
That reminds me of that comedy clip we ran into. I had seen it before, and then I think you pulled it up during one of the breaks where the guy is going, we saw it on Instagram, I believe.
Oh.
And or maybe you saw it on Twitter, and he's like, why do we got $400 bats? You guys have like 4 hits this year.
It's so true. Yeah. And I played that game with two boys, so I thought I just bought you a $410 bat last year. Yeah, but they've got a new version of the DeMarini out or whatever, and I'm like, I used wooden bats when I played. Actually, I did in Farm League. We had wooden bats in Farm League.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow.
And it was like the bat that the Cardinals gave away. Probably.
Or like a broomstick.
Right. I'm like, hey, I'm using my Keith Hernandez bat today that we got at the giveaway at Busch Stadium.
Those actually were pretty cool, man.
Oh, they were kind of cool. We've got out in Mom's garage. I better not tell people this. They'll go on. But we've got some of those bats, and I know we've got this dented, like aluminum gray, it's not, I don't even know who makes it. I don't think anybody made it. I think they fabricated it down at Paul's Machine and Welding in Villa Grove. Like, I don't think Dad and Mom actually went and bought this thing, but that was what I used in Little League, and I thought I was so stinking cool because I had like a metal bat or whatever, aluminum bat. Oh, man, I love that
Speaking of metal
stuff.
bats,
yes,
college baseball started today.
Let's go.
And the Illini are currently playing against Abilene Christian. It's top of the 6th, a close ball game, 7-6 Illinois.
Okay.
With the lead and trying to pitch out of trouble right now. So
down in Texas, right?
I think that's right.
Is that Corpus Christi? I want to say Abilene's in Corpus Christi, or they're in Corpus Christi maybe or something. So they're definitely not in Champaign-Urbana.
Correct. Yeah, it's Corpus Christi, Texas is where they're playing.
Okay.
First of a 3-game set against Abilene Christian. Next week they'll be playing down in Texas again at Texas State. Then they'll play out in Vegas here coming up at the end of the month, which will be pretty cool.
I know Andrew's team that he's going to play with next year, Southeast Community College, their first game is today. And it's just kind of, it's weird. Like I looked at that and I was like, oh my gosh, this time next year I might be at a college baseball game, for that.
That's sweet to think about.
They go to Mississippi and Tennessee. They don't go to Florida. So I told Andrew, I'm like, why are you going to that school? They don't go to Florida for. No, I'm kidding. So I
didn't come up in the recruiting visit.
Yeah, right. I know. I should have.
You guys go to Florida? No. All right, we're out.
Before we even look at anything here, Florida or no? Okay. Well, good to meet you, Coach. We're gone. Well, hopefully Dan's team. Hopefully they can do some stuff for Coach that passed away. That would
absolutely,
be
yeah.
Coach Adams. It'd be great to have a great. Well, of course, they had a great season last year.
They did.
Winning the Big Ten. So. Boy, they could hit last year. Man.
Big time.
And it looks like already they're hitting.
They're off and rolling as far as that goes today.
Got to get some pitching, I guess, to stand up. So
for sure. Let's talk some hoops, though, shall we?
Let's do it.
Illinois-Michigan State just got back from Brad Underwood's press conference over at State Farm Center. It was really cool. I tweeted out a picture right before talking to Kylan Boswell. You can see almost every seat in that building has an orange T-shirt.
That's awesome. I love that tweet.
Our great friends at Game Day Spirit have the Terrence Shannon Jr. T-shirts for everybody. Everybody in attendance looks like they're getting one tomorrow. So
that is
I don't think they do the paint the hall orange anymore.
I don't think so.
They're pretty much bringing it back without actually calling it that. So Terrence, of course, having his jersey lifted to the rafters right after Kofi's this past game against UCLA, and can't wait to see Terrence in attendance. And it's been really awesome that he's gotten more and more opportunity here recently with the Timberwolves, has played some meaningful minutes with them, but more so just remembering what he did last year, and his 2-year stint here was pretty awesome. In particular, this final season that he helped lead Illinois to an Elite Eight, and what a postseason he had. Just seemed like he was flirting with 30 points a game really throughout that month of March, and dominant downhill force, athletic freak, and of course everything that he went through last year too just adds to it. So will be an emotionally charged night tomorrow, 7 p.m. on Fox. I think I heard that Gus Johnson's going to be on the call for Fox, so that would be pretty sweet. I don't know the last time that Gus has been in that building. It's been a while, if I'm not mistaken. But then add in Michigan State, the rematch, Tom Izzo.
Let's go.
There's a lot to really get fired up about tomorrow night, and we're not that far away.
A couple of things I was thinking about. Kyle, could you look and see what Shannon has done the last couple of NBA games? Because it is kind of cool that he's not only coming back to Champaign, but he's coming back, like you said, after he's now starting to get a little playing time, more than, or probably not as enough as he should, but starting to play a little bit, which is kind of cool with that. Oh, there we go.
11 points. 5 rebounds, 6 assists in 20 minutes against Milwaukee on Wednesday. And then last night, 13.6 rebounds in 20 minutes.
Wow.
29 minutes.
So he's getting double-figure scoring here.
For sure.
That is awesome. Well, the other thing I thought of is, like, you had mentioned what a year it was for Terrence and going through all that. I just don't know how he performed as well as he did with that hanging over him. And now, now that it's done and he was cleared and – all of that. I mean, maybe he, in his mind, was like, I did nothing wrong, so I'm not going to let it affect my basketball, right? So, but I just can't imagine being, falsely accused and then not, just knowing that that's hanging over you the whole time, plus going out and trying to perform and doing something like that. So, I mean, it just makes his season, to me, that much more remarkable on how well he played last year. It was kind of cool when you had said that. I was thinking, did you happen to see – I know you watched some golf with Dietrich winning the Waste Management. Did you see the 2 times that Jim Nantz, they would throw up the graphic of Dietrich going to the University of Illinois?
I didn't.
So I recorded it once, and Jim Nantz is like, Dietrich, of course, attended the University of Illinois in Champaign. And so I recorded it, and I sent it to my boys, and I'm like, is there anything better than Jim Nantz throwing out the University of Illinois? And Andrew's response was his voice could cure cancer. I'm like, I agree. So it was just kind of cool to hear Jim Nantz say, the University of Illinois, and they talked a lot about Mike Small, and those guys are out in Hawaii right now playing in an event. So I know I'm skipping around, so I apologize. We get back to basketball. But, yeah, when you tweeted that out today about Terrence Shannon, I know we got a bobblehead for Lucas today. We bought one of his bobbleheads because he was wanting a Terrence Shannon bobblehead. So a lot of stuff going on, and it's going to be, again, as I said, the feel-good stories have been really positive for Illinois. Like, everything seems to go Illinois' way, and it happened Tuesday with Kofi. There's no doubt that it's got to go the right way against Michigan State.
I saw someone post this, and it checks out as far as my memory goes, and there's not that many to have to account for, but Illinois won on his night.
Oh.
They won on Kofi's night.
Oh.
How could they not win on Terrence's night?
You got to keep it going.
Right?
You got to keep it going, and you can't let Izzo become the winningest Big Ten coach on your watch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to do that back home anyway, doesn't he?
Well, I think he would enjoy doing it in Champaign.
Oh, I think he would too. Of course, he lost at home to Indiana. He had his chance to get it done at home. So, I don't know who they play next after Illinois, but we cannot let Tom Izzo celebrate that honor on our court.
They're at home against Purdue.
Oh, wow.
The start of next week. So this is a really big game. Here's Michigan State. And we talked about this weeks ago of things really heating up for the Spartans who were undefeated. They were 9-0 in Big Ten play, lost both of their games in the West Coast swing, and have still been, and very much so still are, in the thick of the Big Ten title hunt. But after losing now 3 of 4, they're at Illinois, home against Purdue, at Michigan, at Maryland.
Gee-money. This is a big game for Michigan State.
Huge.
And not an easy one going
Definitely
up against
not.
Illinois.
Definitely not.
Wow. So, isn't that funny how they won those? And don't get me wrong. If you win 10 or 11 or whatever it was in a row, I don't care who you're playing. That's still pretty impressive to reel that off. Not many teams do that. But it was funny in the sense that you kind of looked at who they were playing, and maybe some of the better teams were being played at East Lansing, it seemed like. And it's like, your time will come, and boy, it's arrived for Michigan State. Of course, that's their fault to lose to Indiana in East Lansing.
For sure.
Right? I mean, that is a major fail there. So,
and that's a big difference where prior to this stretch for them, and you can say what you want about the schedule, one of their wins was against a good Illinois team.
Sure.
And, yes, you had the Casper Shakachonis foul trouble and whatnot, and Illinois had a big lead that ultimately drained away down the stretch. But Michigan State, in contrast to what Illinois has done this year at different points, won all the games they were supposed to win. So you can at least appreciate that, where Illinois, yes, they've had their reasons, their absences, whatever it might be, their circumstances, but losing at home to USC, losing at Nebraska, losing at Rutgers, those are games that during that 9-0 Big Ten start for Michigan State that they didn't do. They just won every game they were supposed to win. But now they've lost 3 of 4, and there's a handful of these that they won't be picked to win, including tomorrow night where Illinois, Ken Palm says, is a 4-point favorite. Someone I saw earlier today put that the line's already ballooned out to 6.5. I'd have to confirm that, but Illinois will be expected to win.
Let's go.
Both by the line, and I think as we look into the matchup, I'm not going to speak for all of us. We're going to give our picks at the end of the show, but one that you would hope to win, and it's always the cliche, like win your home games, and
sure,
it's a big one for Illinois because we know what's coming next week.
And they are getting back to that hole, right? And I assume Brad Underwood maybe touched on that a little bit today. I know you
did, yeah.
You met with Brad and also Kylan Boswell today, but I mean, they are getting that back. I know we were talking today about Tommy and what a difference he makes for this basketball team, and having him and Merez now getting comfortable playing together, and like we talked about the other day with him, Rickhouse kind of feeling his way into that three spot essentially, and can still do the 4 if he needs. But I mean, that's what you want to see, right? You want to see it down the stretch. You want to see some big wins like against Michigan State, and you just kind of feel like you're March ready. And so this game tomorrow is a big one.
Huge. No
Big
doubt
time.
about that. Tommy, the Michigan State game was right before he then missed 3 games because of mono. And
that's right.
He had this swollen throat and could barely breathe and felt terrible. Played 29 minutes in that game. The last 2 games he's played 30-plus minutes despite having the swollen ankle and that whole thing that he hurt at Rutgers. Brad even mentioned today that Tommy missed practice yesterday kind of as an injury management thing to make sure that he's fresh enough and not putting too much stress on the ankle. Will practice today, according to Brad. We did ask him, Doug Bouchon of Rivals asked him about Trey White and that situation and him returning to the rotation. We could maybe play some Brad as we go along here, but
I'd love to hear that.
To paraphrase, Brad's like, he is healthy now, which is good. He said, I've had some conversations with Trey, and we're going to play the guys that give us the best chance to win, the guys that fit together the best. And that's my sole focus, especially this time of year. So that was a little revealing, in that there's a little bit more to it, it seems, than him just being sick of late.
And like, did you get the gut feel that it's performance based or that something else?
I think it seems to be, and I can't know for sure, but the fact that he did play in the Minnesota game, it wasn't like He was held out the whole game. Usually if you have some kind of like disciplinary thing, which again would be speculative and something that we don't know about. Brad hasn't come out and said anything on that note that you wouldn't imagine he plays at all if that's what it is. It feels like maybe just because Will Riley's come on the way he has, Brad wants to continue to play Ben a heavy load of minutes, and Jake Davis is getting opportunities, maybe even over Trey. And Jake is shooting the three. That's one big difference, and we talked about it yesterday, that especially when Merez is out there, you like to have shooters at all other positions, and that's not something Trey has done well, especially in Big Ten play. Jake Davis has been able to give you that spot-up shooter. If they help off the corner, Jake, I have confidence is going to make that shot. And that's been one that Trey was struggling with. Trey, when he's at his best, can still give you a nice piece. Like he can be a good rebounder. He can be a slasher. He's had some good moments this season, and not all that long ago. Even the Nebraska game, he was very productive. 8 points, 13 rebounds, a couple blocks. So that's a good player still in the mix here. Right. And one thing I wrote today about the rotation and are we starting to see the late season version really come into play? Because a lot of times coaches, now some teams are different. Like Michigan State has had depth throughout the whole year, a deep bench, and probably will the rest of the way. But the last two games, you've seen KJ, Will, Ben, and Tommy all play 30-plus minutes.
Interesting.
And then Kylan's played like 28, 29. So those guys are getting a heavy workload, and maybe that will be the way it is the rest of the way. We'll see. I think Dre is still very capable of factoring in.
I agree.
When he's healthy in particular. He was starting before getting the flu. One thing I did look up last year, and I wanted to kick it around to you guys too after this, is I'm not going to go ISO ball the rest of the show.
I mean, can I leave?
No, you're good.
Okay, no. I didn't know. I didn't know if
soon
you were
enough. Soon enough. But
it's like just hear me out here.
Yeah.
I just sneak away.
Let me riff here.
Alon sneaks away and nobody even knows it.
Last season, we had Dane go from barely playing, and wait, this is working where he's on the court and you need him in certain matchups or just because he's playing well. Luke Goody at one point, was like, his minutes have really dwindled down, and then he picks up and plays 20-plus minutes a game, it seemed like, in postseason play. Justin Harmon was more of like, he's the for sure sixth man, and then he's not playing all that much down the stretch. And Ty Rodgers as a starter, which that continued on forward, but it wasn't just 25 to 30 minutes a game. Later in the year, that went down when he didn't play all that well. So we could have a grasp on what we think the rotation, or maybe just flat out what it is right now. That doesn't necessarily mean it will be the same by the end of this regular season.
No doubt.
Into the postseason. So Trey, even if he is behind some guys right now, doesn't mean he's going to stay there. He'll have a chance to work his way back in, and guys who are getting those minutes will have to continue to earn them. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Maybe now that we have a little bit more clarity that we're kind of reading between the lines, but Brad did leave kind of the hint that, hey, it's not just he's been incapable of being out there. We're kind of giving minutes to other guys.
Can we do this and make Kyle happy and take a break before we tackle because I have a feeling that's going to be a pretty long conversation. The other thing I wanted to bring up with you is the one thing that I was going to say that Trey would be helpful tomorrow against kind of a Michigan State team that we know is kind of that heavy team. They play a physical brand, but yet then I started thinking, and I missed it because I was in the air flying, if you guys remember that, but Will Riley went off against Michigan State. And you'd think like Will Riley would be like, I'm worried a little bit about Will going against the Michigan State team. But, man, he went off, especially in the first half. It led me to this thought. Will Riley he's doing it at the rim, a lot of this work. And that's not something I expected right now out of him, right? I mean, there were, of course, stretches this year where you didn't have anything from Will Riley, and you just kept wondering, boy, if this guy shows up, what a weapon he'll be in March. Well, now he's shown up, right? He's arrived. It's just it's a little bit different than where I thought he would arrive. I know he's still hitting threes. I know he still can do it from the outside, but it amazes me how well he can get to the rim and kind of take contact and still score. He's a magician with that shot, and that kind of shows you why he's a 4 or 5 star guy, right?
Yep.
I mean, those guys usually show up and show out. And that's what Will's doing. But I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit too, because that's been one thing that has impressed me is not only the fact that Will has arrived and is playing so well, but it's the fact that he's playing a game that I wasn't expecting this year. I'm not saying he couldn't do it eventually when he gets his body really ready, but man, he's not afraid to take it underneath and get some tough buckets. And I think I've been more impressed with that almost more than just him arriving, because you just kept waiting for that.
No doubt.
So I think that's pretty cool that he's doing that.
Absolutely. If you want to weigh in, you can. 217-359-2255. Hit us up on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. We'll talk plenty more Illini basketball as we go along. How about Michigan State? What's their recent form? What's gone into some of their recent struggles? And will those continue tomorrow night at State Farm Center? A lot still to get to, and Hans D will join us in the 4 o'clock hour. Stick around for that.
Uh-oh.
This is The Drive.
Is the plumbing in your home driving you crazy? From leaks to drips or remodels, Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing has you covered. Voted CU's #1 plumbing company, and there's a reason. Treating all customers like friends. Backed up sewers, clogged drains. Call today. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, 217-841-4728, or visit dogtownheatingandair.com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend.
Our friendly sales team help you to find just the right appliance, just the right price.
I'm Paul Reekin, and you know my dad, Dennis, for the famous Wow. Yeah, that's the one. That Wow is a Central Illinois tradition, decades in the making. It's our award-winning staff that puts the Wow in Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. We have in-house service, in-house appliance installation, a knowledgeable sales staff that will make sure you get the guaranteed best deal on your next appliance purchase. Oh, and let's not forget, a jingle that's been around for decades. Just like the quality service we provide, I'll make sure it's here for decades to come. We're the store that makes you say, Wow!
We stand behind what we sell, we offer so much more. Dick Van Dyke Appliance World, when you buy from us, you get the whole store.
Sarah Champagne's Ben Quattrone on keeping his employees.
It's got to be the place to work. We have to pay the best. We have to treat people the best. Some of the guys wanted to order pizza the other day. Well, we bought 30 Papa Del's pizzas. BMW had the best month they've ever had. They said, can we have a cookout? Saturday, I cooked like 50 ribeye steaks. And they were expecting like cheeseburgers, burgers and hot dogs and stuff. Like, if I'm eating steak, you're eating steak. We both eat steak, we both eat hamburger.
Learn more at sarahchampagne.com. Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow is ready to help you combine home and auto and save right here in Champaign-Urbana. Call 352-1411 today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Average annual per household savings based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
Urbana Park District has job openings for the summer, hiring camp counselors, assistants, lifeguards, customer service representatives, ground and building positions, and more. Everyone is welcome to apply for a job, and the Park District offers competitive wages, always hiring not only for seasonal jobs, but for jobs year-round. Urbana Park District, you belong here. Online applications taken at urbanaparks.org/jobs.
Illini fans win free tickets. Stevie J Broadcasting has teamed up with Express Employment Professionals, your local link to top talent opportunities. Text Illini to 217-359-2255 for your chance to win tickets to upcoming home games. That's Illini to 359-2255. Express Employment Professionals, respecting people, impacting business at 1001 North Mattis. Express Employment Professionals says, go Illini. Visit expresspros.com.
When Ross went out, I always told him, be careful. And that was the last time I got to see him.
Because someone didn't slow down and move over. Ross had on a bright orange shirt with reflective stripes the night he was killed.
He always had that smile. He just lit up the room when he came in.
Slow down and move over when you see flashing lights. Everybody is somebody.
When you see lights flashing, use caution passing. Let's all go home safe tonight.
Good morning, First Federal Savings Bank. How may I direct your call?
Speak with friendly, real people during lobby hours. It matters when you call First Federal Savings Bank of Champaign-Urbana. A real person located at the bank. Not a recording answers your call during lobby hours. Personal, friendly service makes a difference. 217-356-BANK.
Thank you for calling. Have a great day.
Rated 5-star superior by Bauer Financial, Inc. Fast, friendly, and local with local loan decisions and underwriting. If you're not already banking with us, give us a try. We think you'll love it here. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. NMLS 435120.
My ace. That's my ace.
That is a true story.
That's awesome. Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Speaking of baseball, Illinois, unfortunately, didn't hold the lead. It's 9-7 Abilene Christian now, bottom of the 7th. Illinois is at bat.
Okay,
they were out to a 7-1 lead, but gave up 4 in the 5th, 4 in the 6th.
Man.
It's now 9-7.
Sounds like
Still
the Cubs
time, though.
bullpen.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, yes!
Man.
Where's my... Oh, come on. I need
refuse.
that, Kyle. Oh, come on, Kyle. I've got to have it.
Wouldn't it usually be the 9th, though? Or?
Oh, yeah, you're probably
well.
right. Yeah. The first shot of the season
like it
was a Cubs shot.
I can't handle another year of the bullpen doing its thing.
We would have got the rally caps out for Illinois. Game one.
No doubt.
It's like, gosh dang it.
One more real quick before we move on and back into Illinois and Michigan State. Sounds like Holy Cross, 7th grade boys basketball team, finished second at state. We had a 630 text that in, and just wanted to give a quick congrats to them on a nice run through the state playoffs.
Yeah, he said Colton, I hope I'm saying this right, Stone Cipher shot his way into the record book. He made the most threes in a championship game, 5, and he had 12 for the tournament.
Sweet.
10 was the last. Congrats. Yeah, I know how exciting that can be for sure. Also, RJ nailed me because he's like Abilene Christians in Abilene, Texas.
Well, okay.
Doofus. I was like, gosh dang it. He's
you are right, though. This is being played in Corpus Christi.
That's what I had seen, that it was being played there. But, yeah, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Look, geography's never been a strength of mine. I don't really have a strength, to be honest with you. So
I don't know about that.
I can tell you where beaches are in Florida.
You could point Florida out on a map.
Right. Ponce de Leon and I, we're on the same page here. I love it.
All right, Illinois, Michigan State tomorrow night. It is out to a 6.5-point spread for Illinois
That's
at
surprising.
home. So maybe some early money on the Illini to get it done and return the favor, which I know Illini fans definitely very hungry to do that. Have been ever since that final buzzer sounded on January 19th. I think we can talk about what needs to be different for Illinois. Brad gave a nice suggestion in I think his opening statement. He was like, it'd be nice if KJ could play more than 8 or 9 minutes in this game that we go up against them for.
Dropping the mic everywhere.
Yeah,
I love it.
Letting it rip. And I want to also talk about what we've seen from Michigan State here recently. But to return to our conversation right before the break, talking about Trey White, the rotation, Will Riley leaning more and more into him. And I was looking this up on KenPom. Illinois' most used lineup over the last 5 games is KJ, Kylan, Will Riley, Benham Rickhouse, and Tommy.
Okay. Not Merez.
Not Merez.
Interesting.
The next one down is Merez subbed in for Tommy, and then third is what the starting lineup we saw the other night.
Okay.
KJ, Kylan, Ben, Merez, and Tommy.
To start this with like a caveat, you remember last year in the tournament who came on for you, right? You just mentioned it.
Dane Danger.
And Dre. Remember Dre came in and hit a couple of threes? So the caveat here is that we're going to talk about maybe like who should be getting the most minutes, but you also understand, not just you, I'm saying this as a whole, you understand that there's going to be moments that these other guys are going to be able, like Trey White. Trey White could be in round 1 against TCU. I'm just making this up. He might have a double-double, and you're just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. But he got hot, and it was the right matchup, et cetera. I I've told you before that I'm nervous with Merez and Tommy both playing together to start, only because of the foul trouble, because it has happened a couple of times. It happened in Nebraska, I believe, and I can't remember the other game where Merez got into early foul trouble, and now all of a sudden you've lost your depth, if you will. But there's also the notion, and you two would probably argue with me, that lineup is maybe the best that Illinois can put out there in terms of the plus-minus. I think there was a stat at some point about how those two being on the court led to the best plus-minus essentially of Illinois this season. So that still makes me a little nervous, but honestly, the way Merez rebounds, that guy is an absolute beast. He is in, like, every rebound, he is right there. Whether he gets it or not, he is stationed in the correct spot. He is so strong that you cannot move him. And I love that idea. Plus, it allows Tommy to play a little free, more free on the perimeter, which I think then aids this team. The way he can pass, the way he can spread, like you said, bring the 5 guy out to where somebody has to, or even the 4 if you're putting the 5 on Merez, to kind of spread that floor for Illinois. So I guess I can be convinced that those two on the court at the same time is the right thing to do. I'm still a little iffy with Ben because of the defense when the NCAA tournament comes around, because every possession is so huge, and you just cannot give away free points in the tournament. They're hard to come by, right? So it's one of those situations where I'm still up in the air about how much Ben Rickhouse should be playing for this team in terms of major minutes. That said, and here goes another caveat, we've seen it this year when he's hitting, they are at their best. Like, you blew out Oregon, you blew out Indy. I mean, when Rickhouse is making those threes, it makes such a difference for this team. So I feel like I'm talking in circles here, but essentially, I guess maybe Ben would be the guy that I'd like to see a little less minutes from, and maybe a little bit more of Trey White. Will Riley, I think, has earned his moment and has earned his minutes, and I want to see Will Riley as much as I can on the court. Not only does he, the other night he had 7 assists. He led him in assists. He's a good rebounder. Defensively, he still has work to do, but I don't think it's as glaring as Rickhouse. So definitely I want to see more of Will. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy Kylan Boswell in March. I feel like he's a big game kind of guy. And it's almost like the temperament of him. You and I were talking about it walking into to the station today about how he doesn't get too excited. I feel like that's the kind of guy in March that you want. The guy that's going to take it all. He's going to take it even. The moment's not going to be too big for him, and he's going to knock down a couple of big shots. KJ obviously is going to play. I don't even have to mention that. So that would be kind of my long-winded way of saying I'd probably like to see, obviously, more Will. For sure KJ, for sure Tommy. I'm okay with Merez, but that still worries me a little bit. I just can't imagine round 2 against a pretty good team and Merez picks up too early. And then you're like, oh, crap. Now we got to play this game of when can we get him on the court, when shouldn't we have him on the court. That scares me a little bit. But definitely more Will, and I'd like to see maybe a little more Trey, but we'll see. They're playing well with him not getting a lot of minutes. So, I don't know. I'm anxious to see what you guys say.
It is hard to imagine that Trey's going to go from, number one, being a starter, then playing 20-plus minutes a night, to now just being on the outside of the rotation. Of course, that does play into Will being a totally different player than he was a couple weeks ago. Jake Davis has come on and given a lot more of a boost than I thought that he would be capable of this year. And it's not just shooting. He does play really hard. Mm-hmm. He's scrappy. He can move without the ball pretty well. I still think it's matchup based in a lot of ways. There are variables that can change.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, we've talked about it recently with Ben, if there's a team that is going to have a 3-man, if Ben's going to play this big lineup and be the 3, if the 3 is going to be able to drive him and be a little bit more quicker and athletic on the perimeter, that could be, maybe then you need Trey out there.
Right.
Or maybe you want to play a smaller lineup to counter and throw Dre in there with the guards and play 3-guard lineup. So,
and I do feel like Ben has gotten better defensively, right?
Yeah.
He's gotten more. He's showing more physicality
for sure, and he's rebounding a lot better.
It is,
which is a big deal. And I do like, we've talked a lot about offensively, the 3-ball, the booty ball that he can do too, which is adding another dynamic as well. So I want to give credit, obviously, to Jake and to Will, and as far as that goes. With Dre in particular, it's and I don't want to write Trey off yet. I think it's still something that maybe as early as tomorrow night. Yep, right. Michigan State's third in the country in rebounding margin.
Woo!
Illinois is number 1. And if it's a situation where you need more rebounding, maybe it is Trey to go out there and he's an animal on the glass, and then you just don't want to pull him out. And that's something that Brad can still do, even as a rotation takes shape. You can kind of plug a guy in and see what do you have with them tonight. And if it's a situation where Trey's playing inspired and giving you a lot, and maybe somebody else, it's not their night, then you can kind of shuffle things up. One thing that I even had to look up to remember today, prior to Dre getting the flu, over the last the previous 5 weeks, he was playing 22 minutes a night and averaging near 10 a night, 47% from the field, had given you a real nice spark. So even though he hasn't played a whole lot recently, which it feels like that's more of a he has the flu. We don't have any questions about anything else going on there. Where Trey, it's been a little bit more kind of curious what that is.
I agree. That is funny that I basically just forgot about Dre. Sorry, I didn't even mean to do that. But you're right. I mean, he had worked his way into the starting lineup.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Kyle, what do you think in terms of how much are you putting into what we've recently seen in terms of, is this a picture that we will get familiar with down the stretch, or is it still subject to change, in your opinion?
I think the bottom line for me is I'm very happy to see Brad Underwood lean into his top 3 players, who I think are the guys you need to lean on in March. Those 3 guys, Kasparis, Will Riley, and Tommy, are the 3 guys that are going to determine whether you make a deep tournament run or you don't.
That's
because
fair.
Those are your ceiling raiser NBA type of prospects. So in that sense, leaning more into Will, I think should continue. I think those 3 guys are your 32-plus minutes roll with them guys. You there. And then the rest of it, I just think you have different guys that can give you different things. And I don't know if I'm personally dead set on one guy being, okay, here's your another 30-minute a game guy. I need to see this guy out there. And I just think you do probably need to play that matchup based.
Yeah, I agree.
And if there was one guy that I'd want to see more than anybody else, it probably is Merez, but I agree with you. It's a little hard to just throw him in because I think the fit issues there in certain lineups and the foul trouble, like you mentioned. I don't know. I'd find it hard to believe, particularly for Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, that with the way he came on and impacted games for Illinois for about 3 weeks.
He was incredible.
That he's now your 9th guy and he might get DMPs in March. That just, I think he'll have a place. Yeah. Obviously, Kylan and Ben are 2 guys that it feels like Brad has placed more trust in of the kind of older role guys. I'd imagine that probably continues because it feels like he really wants those 2 guys out there. I think Trey would be the guy I circle that I question how much you'll see him.
I told you guys I had that feeling about March with Kylan. Is there a guy on this team that you kind of have that feeling about? You know how it is, Pipes, in March, it is a whole different feel. When that tournament rolls around, and I'm sure even I covered some games, NCAA tournament games at the site, there is a different feel. There is this edge almost that both teams have to play with because that's it, right? I mean, this is it. If we lose today, we're done. We don't have, Iowa coming up next if we lose to Michigan State, although you got Wisconsin. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those where it's just that different. I don't know. It's hard to explain. And even as a fan, when you're watching that tournament, I can remember who did Illinois face in the second round last year? Duquesne. And it was all right, well, this should be easy. I was nervous as hell. And then they came out and scored early, and I'm like, what is going on? There's just a different feel to March, and I feel like there's certain guys that you have to rely on to show up at that time. And for me, it's Kylan. Do you guys have that guy you think in your mind? Is it somebody like KJ? And I'm not taking anything, I'm not sitting there saying, well, KJ's a freshman, Will's a freshman, Tommy's technically a sophomore, but he's a freshman. I don't know that I want to throw all my faith in them, but yet these are, like Kyle said, absolute studs, and you're going to throw all your confidence in those guys. But there's just something about that role that I think Kylan can play in March.
He's been there.
He's been there
multiple times. He's been part of Arizona teams that were 2 seeds in back-to-back years. Now, I will offer up one of his criticisms at the end of his Arizona tenure was that he kind of seemed, especially last year, faded in the postseason. He really faded at the end of the year. Now, that's not to say he can't learn from that, whatever it was to take away from that disappointment or just not raising up to the level, whatever it might be. He'll know what it's like to prepare for big games where your season's on the line, where you go dancing.
Yeah.
And outside of him, I mean, Trey played 1 game in the tournament at USC his freshman year. Obviously, nowhere close to the tournament last year at Louisville. No one else on your roster. I mean, Dre, I guess I should give him credit for being part of a team that went to the Elite Eight and it had some minutes in the tournament last year. In particular, was it the first round that he jumped in there against Morehead State and gave
hit
you
a couple of huge threes.
Gave you some punch. So that was good, no doubt about it. KJ has been a big game player internationally when there were some prime matchups where he's going up against other big name guys, potential lottery pick guys. But it's totally different when you get to this level. But I do still get like the killer vibe from him. I think he's a killer. I think he's a bright lights player. You do hope he doesn't turn it over. That would be the one thing I wouldn't want to see him in a pressure-packed moment, a high-level opponent. He'll be the focus of that defense and that he just gives it away 5 or 6 times.
Right.
But in terms of being ready for the game, in terms of being focused, in terms of not backing down, I think he'll be in that mix. I would put trust in him as far as that goes.
And defensively.
Yeah, and
get back to that dog he was early in the season.
He's going to compete defensively. I want to see more and more. I go back to Tuesday night. There was a moment where he just kind of gave a bump to Sky Clark. It was just he has these little
I love it.
Little moments of like he's got some nastiness to him. He's got some dog to him, and I just want to see that break out a little bit more because he is pretty reserved.
I like it
and even keeled, but I know it's in there. I just want to see it, maybe on the external front a little bit more.
No, I'm with you. I like that idea, and I mean we've seen it out of him with Sears early in the year. I mean Kylan can really buckle down, and that's I love that. Kyle, how about you? Is there somebody that you like have a feel like I need this guy in March?
I just feel like I can totally picture, and we've already seen it, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn flipping a game off the bench. Like I think there's round of 32, Illinois starts flat, KJ doesn't have it, Dre comes in and scores 10 straight points and flips the energy of a game. That's why I would be disappointed if all of a sudden his minutes are gone and he dissipates. He's got something about his game, whether it's just the energy he brings, or I feel like there's a consistency to at least like the mindset that he'll come off the bench and play with. And we've seen him be a spark plug scorer at times too, which I think if your freshmen are off and you've got a guy that at least does have a year under his belt and has played in those tournament games, I feel like he's just one of those where all of a sudden he comes in and like an entire game flips because of his presence.
I like it. And Pipe said, he showed up for the big moment last year.
He did.
He wasn't scared of it.
No doubt. Not a guy lacking for confidence.
No. You have to play matchups, though, don't you? And Kyle said it right with those 3 big guys, the 3 guys you want playing 30-plus. How much do you then play the matchup game, or do you ride with, okay, Jake, I'm sorry. First of all, I love Jake. I love watching him play. He's constantly moving. I've always said, like, the ball movement when Jake is on the court is as good as I've seen with Illinois. It's just constantly moving. There's a lot of passes. I love watching that kid. But round of 16 to get to the Elite Eight or Elite Eight to get to the Final Four, I don't know that I need to see Jake out a ton. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes in and hits 2 huge threes to lead Illinois to San Antonio. But it's one of those situations where you have to get comfortable. Brad in his mind is going to be comfortable with a certain unit, right? And so how much of it then, Pipes, do you play the match game? If you're like totally comfortable with Morez being on the court, but yet the other team is a team that's all 6'6", and maybe I don't even know if that's a good example. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're comfortable with Morez on the court, but yet the matchup doesn't fit. How much do you just go with your comfortability? Is that a word? I don't think it is. Of Morez being on the court, or how much do you have to play that matchup of putting maybe Trey in there to be able to guard the perimeter better. Does that make am I making
no doubt.
sense?
It's something that Brad Underwood has to be able to gauge, because there are different sides of contrasting matchups where a team can play a little bit smaller, but if you're a big lineup, maybe you destroy them on the glass.
Well, that's true.
Maybe you
It's a
get
good point.
some booty ball post ups, and what's the give and take there? There can be a little bit even where we saw Tommy playing the 5, obviously, against Bilodeau, and they both kind of gave each other pick and pop threes. Like they were like, all right, you get a pick and pop 3, I'll take one down here, and then we kind of even out. So there's that as far as that goes. Ohio State was maybe an example with Merez when Devin Royal was at the 4 spot and could do some things against Merez. It's just something that Brad's going to have to make decisions on. That's part of coaching, is you got to say, well, we want to adjust to what they're doing, or we're going to make them adjust to us. Those type of things.
That's we're
just going to roll with the contrast and bank on our strengths to outweigh theirs. So
that's a great point.
That's where it gets interesting.
Because I think from our standpoint, and everybody else does it if it's their team, they're looking at it like, how are we going to match up with them? Sometimes it is, like you just said eloquently, sometimes it's like, well, hey, we're not working. You match up with us.
Yeah.
Let's see what you can do. It's so funny. There's a kid, Jay Maraski, a Villa Grove grad. As we were getting older in life and still playing Sunday basketball, like they always do in small towns all over the world, or not just small towns, but as I was getting older, Jay and I would always guard each other. So we would tell everybody when we get in there on Sunday, Jay and I are on opposite teams. We're guarding each other. We had a deal between he and I. We don't go around the other one. So we don't pump fake and go around. We're not tearing ACLs. And we would always say to each other, if you want that 3, you got it. If you think you can make that 3, shoot it. And we would laugh about that all the time. And I remember a couple times he hit a game winner on me and I hit one on him. And everybody was laughing. We're like, hey, this is how it is. We got a deal going. We're not going to be physical. We're not going to try to get around each other. We're just, if you want that 3, you take it. Old man basketball, baby.
There you go.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's self-preservation right there. I like that. I like that.
Can I do one more thing?
Yes.
Because I've got to leave.
Okay.
Can we play the drink button? Because I've got a special thing that I want to bring up. And it was actually asked earlier. Now, you got to go loud on this one. You got to make sure that thing's up on this. Because I got to take off for a basketball game.
All right.
But there's an event this weekend that you guys know is one of my favorites. Ryder Cup is my favorite. This one is creeping into, I know, top 5. And it's coming up Sunday. So hit that drink button.
Happy hour.
Derek Piper, you're going to hear the roar of the engines, baby.
Yeah.
The Daytona 500 is coming up. I plead with you guys every year, give it a chance, let it breathe, watch it. It's a great production by Fox. Daytona's awesome. It's the Super Bowl of NASCAR, right? It's like starting with the Super Bowl and then playing the regular season. It's kind of a weird dynamic. Somebody asked earlier who's going to win Daytona, or who do I have in Daytona? Denny Hamlin's won this thing 3 times. He's starting from the 8-hole. I like Denny Hamlin to get this done. I like a guy late if you're wanting to bet and try to maybe pick somebody off. Michael McDowell starts 25th. He's won Daytona before. How about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting at 31? That might be a guy that you look at. Also, Kyle Larson starting in row 11 at 22. Give me Daytona, baby. Feed it into my bloodstream because I love racing and I love the Daytona 500, and I hope you guys give it a chance. I know you did last year.
I did.
I know you did last year, and I think
I even had a little
bit
of. Yeah, I did. I had a little bit of the. I forget what game I was watching, but then afterwards it was the qualifiers.
Yes.
Oh
yeah,
I watched a little
the
bit
duels,
of that.
baby. Let's go.
I'm sure my son would really like it. My son's all into cars and trains.
He's gonna love it. And
anything,
of course,
anything that moves fast,
right.
he's down. So
and they move. This is as fast as they're gonna move at the Daytona, and that's why you get the big one, right? It's gonna happen on Sunday. But man, if you're out there and you're not a race fan, I totally get it. I understand it. But give Daytona a chance because it's pretty stinking cool. And you just know the big one's coming at some point. The great thing about Daytona is your driver, as long as he doesn't have a wreck car, he's got a chance in this thing because they're stacked up. So it is one of the most fun. I don't know if that's the right grammar. Anyway, I love Daytona 500, and I'm ready for it, and let's get it on.
Sounds good.
Let's go.
Have a great weekend, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, we'll be back. Hans D will be in the house at some point.
Woo, good
Stick
luck
around
with
for that and who you got. It is The Drive.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Restraint remains in place. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. A federal judge in New York extending a temporary block on access to Treasury payment systems for Elon Musk and his government efficiency team, but not ruling yet on a longer injunction.
Musk and Doge want direct access to this payment system to quickly block or redirect federal funds, to conduct independent audits, and ultimately to overhaul this entire system with new technology using AI to detect fraud.
Fox's Brian Yennis, New York Attorney General Letitia James leading a 19-state lawsuit.
All of us are concerned about waste, fraud in our federal government and in all governments, but you should work with Congress. That's how the system works. Not by, again, special employees who have not been vetted.
A federal judge in D.C. also hearing a multi-state challenge. A Trump executive order aimed at restricting gender-affirming care for transgender people under age 19 is temporarily blocked by a second federal judge as that fight also continues. The Trump administration will keep pushing for peace talks on ending the war in Ukraine.
It's important for us to get together and start to have the conversations that are going to be necessary to bring this thing to a close.
Vice President J.D. Vance after meeting in Germany with Ukraine's President Zelensky, who says Ukraine needs security guarantees. Federal safety investigators probing last month's mid-air collision between an Army helicopter and a passenger jet over D.C. say the helicopter crew may have had bad data and a communications issue and not heard an order to go behind the circling jet. They also plan a visibility study.
See if we can demonstrate, which we will be able to do on a software program, what the pilots of the Black Hawk could and could not see.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
You okay?
I can't sleep with this cough.
Sounds like you need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with NyQuil VapoCool. It's NyQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
So you ready to get some sleep? Thank you, NyQuil VapoCool.
NyQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing nighttime coughing, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hamas reveals which hostages will be released this weekend.
The hostages include 36-year-old dual U.S.-Israeli citizen Sagi Dekel-Hen, 29-year-old dual Russian-Israeli citizen Alexander Trupanov, and 46-year-old Israeli Yair Horn. That according to statements from both Israel and Hamas. Hamas says it expects Israel to release 36 Palestinians serving life sentences in Israeli prisons, and for 333 Palestinians arrested during the war to be sent back to Gaza. The hostage release comes after a series of delays, with both sides alleging the other broke the terms of a recent ceasefire agreement. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Tuesday is the deadline for Israel and Hezbollah to fully implement their ceasefire agreement, including Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon. But there's friction over flights from Iran. The Israeli army claiming Iran is smuggling cash to those militants. And after Lebanon revoked permission for one passenger flight yesterday, protesters attacking a convoy of peacekeepers heading to the Beirut airport today, injuring the outgoing deputy commander of the UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon. A former federal prison in the San Francisco Bay Area could become a detention center for undocumented migrants.
The Federal Bureau of Prisons shutting down the Federal Correctional Institution at Dublin last year after several correctional officers and the former warden being either charged with or convicted of sexually abusing female inmates. An executive with the American Federation of Government Employees Council of Prison Locals revealing ICE officials visited the former all-women's prison this week, looking to potentially turn it into a detention center. The executive sharing concerns over the Bureau of Prisons becoming a branch of ICE. Folks who worked at the prison and activists also stressing the facility is plagued with asbestos, black mold, and leaks.
Fox's Christian Goodwin. Wall Street ends the week with a mixed finish. The Dow dropping 165, but the Nasdaq up 81. Lisa Brady, Fox News.
In 1925, a small plumbing company began its journey in Urbana, Illinois. Over the decades, the business grew thanks to hard work and great people. In 1966, things changed when Dave Reichard, a veteran, met veteran Ken Asklin, who was an architectural engineering grad from Illinois. The two realized their shared vision for excellence. Their partnership took root, and in 1975, the name changed to A&R Mechanical. With Dave as president and Ken as vice president, A&R Mechanical expanded services, becoming the go-to full-service contractor for all of Central Illinois. A&R went from a plumbing-only contractor to a full-service mechanical contractor with their own sheet metal shop. Today, A&R is a plumbing, heating, ventilation service company with the same excellence in customer service as they provided nearly 100 years ago. Design, build, and maintain. That's what served A&R Mechanical for nearly 100 years. Find them at Lincoln and Kettering in Urbana or online at ar-mech.com.
It is The Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Quick update. Illini baseball have tied it up down in Corpus Christi.
Heck
It's
yeah.
9-9 in the bottom of the 8th against Abilene Christian. Got some drama brewing here in Game 1.
Let's
as
talk
college
about an
baseball.
opening day game.
Wish we could have it on the TV. I don't know what
is it on
broadcast
ESPN
on. I'm not
Plus
sure.
or something.
I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
You'd have to hook that one up because I don't have it.
I do have, let's see here, Flow College, it says. I know there's Flow Hoops. That must be the baseball variation or whatnot. So streaming, it looks to be.
Can't say that one's in my subscription
Not
repertoire.
one of mine. Thankfully, we were just talking about this off the air. Speaking of streaming, if you got YouTube TV and the news came out, was that yesterday? That they were going to drop the Paramount channels because of a dispute over that contract, and that includes CBS and a host of others, especially you're thinking about the NCAA tournament getting close. And really, every weekend now you've got CBS games, especially Saturday, Sunday. Starting tomorrow, you've got Wisconsin and Purdue, and there was news that was going to be out of the YouTube TV package. Now they've come to some temporary agreement, so we'll see what comes from that. I know there's probably enough YouTube TV users out there that is pertinent. It's not just me and Kyle having that problem.
I had a feeling that there was going to be enough motivation to make something happen. It was probably one of those situations where it's like, all right, we're not going to budge, but wait, okay, now we might actually lose March Madness on YouTube TV and have millions of people drop us. Okay, we'll cave and we'll do a short-term thing because that just can't happen.
Got to get it done. But see, then again, I thought that, and they're a little bit different when you're talking about CBS, but when there was the dispute with Bally Sports, and like surely by the time opening day is going to start, they need to have baseball on their package, and they're like, no, we're not going to do it. And now you run into a situation where now you got Cardinals fans waffling. If you're not, I don't even think Cardinals are currently part of the Xfinity package. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's something they'll have to figure out, whether you want to do the direct-to-consumer streaming package for $20 a month, or I don't know if they're still on DirecTV as well.
Am I wrong that Bally is no more and it's like FanDuel TV now?
Yeah.
Which is like, all right, we got FanDuel sponsoring the TV network
Can
of
you
a pro
imagine?
baseball team, and there's just that's all good.
Unbelievable.
No issues.
That's the world we're living in right now. Yeah, I know, right? So that's what it is. But back to Illinois basketball. That's going to be on Fox tomorrow night. Gus Johnson, I've heard, I should look this up in the game notes.
It's Gus Johnson and Joe Jackson.
Wow.
Or Jim Jackson.
Yeah. I don't believe Gus has done an Illinois game in a while. Maybe he would have done, although that might have been Benetti and Hummel on Fox. The Martin Luther King Day game was a Fox game, I think. Illinois and Purdue a few years ago. You know which one? The double overtime game. I can't remember off the top of my head a Gus game, especially in Champaign, but maybe I'm missing one in my mind. Even so,
he was here for football. Was he here this year? Or was that last year for a game? It was Big Noon. Maybe it was a Penn State game a year ago.
Yeah. I think you're right. When Big Noon was supposed to come to Illinois,
that's
didn't come to Illinois. We're just gonna keep the tents up in Colorado for another week.
The 8th straight week we're at Colorado here.
Yeah.
Even though they've lost 4 in a row and are playing San Jose State.
Whatever it might be. But huge game tomorrow night in Champaign against the Michigan State team that has not been in great form recently. They did have a big comeback victory last weekend against Oregon. They put up 80-plus in that game, but one thing, Kyle, looking at 3 of the last 4 losses, they failed to crack 70 points in all 3 of those. 64 on the road at USC, 61 at UCLA, and only 67 against Indiana, who's not played very much defense this year. It's a team that, as it was a couple weeks ago when Illinois played them the first time, they don't shoot the 3 for really anything. They're a bad 3-point shooting team that doesn't take a lot of threes, and that still continues to be a problem for them. I was reading some Tom Izzo quotes that were out there on social media today. Apparently, and I didn't get a chance to watch the Indiana game because we were covering the Illinois-UCLA. Indiana zoned them for a long stretch.
Pretty much the whole second half.
Wow.
It was a 2-3 zone that Indiana barely had ever played, and Michigan State couldn't do anything on it. You had Jeremy Fears out there as a non-shooter with their 2 bigs that they always play, and then you've got, 20% it's an awful lineup to beat a zone. It felt like Michigan State had nothing for it. And that's what I was going to bring up. Like, is there any world where Brad Underwood throws a zone out there? I think no chance. But
I would say no.
You got to do
as well.
something. I mean, you're probably not going to zone them, but boy, let those guys shoot it as much as they want. Under every screen on everybody except maybe Jace Richardson, and sag off of Fears and Carr and any of these bigs. Like a 3 that goes up for Michigan State is a win for Illinois, and that goes against what Brad Underwood usually wants to take away. And obviously you'll live with some of those mid-range shots too, but that's really what Michigan State shoots and makes is mid-range shots with a lot of those guys. Anybody wants to take a 3 other than maybe Richardson, I'm pleased tomorrow night.
No doubt about it. You look at their season-long stats, and Jace Richardson is about a 39% three-point shooter on 57 attempts. Jeremy Fears is 42%, but he's only taken 19 threes all year, so he's less than a 3 attempt a game. You live with the fact that you increase that volume and probably getting a good result out of that. At least go under the screen, like you were saying.
Heck, that's why Illinois didn't want him, right?
Yeah, 100%. That was it. Non-shooter for the most part. Now he has done a good job of being a little bit more serviceable from beyond the arc. Nick Martinelli is another one of those guys. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far. Jaden Akins, who's supposed to be their best shooter, or at least highest volume shooter, is below 30% from 3 this year. And then you really get into some guys like, Jackson Kohler's 25% on 32 attempts. Give him every 3 that he wants to take. Frankie Fiddler, the transfer, 17% from 3 this season. Cohen Carr's only taken 8 threes all year. Xavier Booker shooting 21% from 3 as well. So a lot of guys that you would love if they want to take some threes, which obviously their bread and butter is, like you said, mid-range game, offensive rebound, putback, and free throw line. And that's another thing. They're number 1 in the Big Ten during league play in offensive rebounding, number 1 in the Big Ten in free throw rate. So got to keep them off the line. They got guards that are going to just drive right into you and see if they can get some calls. And they're an athletic team. Like that's not to say they're just like, being floppers or anything like that, because they're not. But they want a head ram, as Brad likes to say. And we'll see.
There's some selling of contact
for sure
with that team, for sure.
There is, no doubt.
But I think the thing that they had success with in that first meeting was their guards were pretty effective beating Illinois' guards off the dribble and getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line. Holloman beat Boswell 3 or 4 times in that game uncharacteristically, where he just blew past him, got to the rim, scored. He, I think, was their leading scorer in that game for Michigan State. But you saw Akins and Fears do that a little bit too. But that's why, I want to be cheating on those driving angles and, giving myself extra space. I'm not worried. If guy wants to pull up for a 3 on me, really everybody except Richardson, I'm happy with it. I want to just take away their ability to get paint touches with their guards and, get to the free throw line, put Illinois' guys in foul trouble. I mean, that was the story of the first game, was your best players in foul trouble. You don't want to have a situation where Tommy's being put in bad spots, Merez is being put in bad spots. That's what I would anticipate Michigan State is going to try to do, is put the ball in the hands of those guards. And I think Richardson's starting now, right? He's in the starting lineup now. So it's him, Fears, and Holloman are 3 guys that attack pretty well off the dribble. So I think Illinois' perimeter guys need to be better. That's why I think you could see more Dre in this game to combat some of Michigan State's smaller guards, because their lineups are kind of weird where they got a lot of smaller guards and then a lot of bigs that are not mobile. It's just a weird fit. But I think you could use a guy like Dre. Kylan obviously is going to be important. I wonder, is he the matchup for Jace Richardson in this game? Probably.
Probably, yeah.
I think this Michigan State team's been so easy to guard here recently with the way they've shot it so poorly that I question, unless there is a foul fest and Illinois is just really undisciplined, how do they beat you tomorrow night without turning it into just an ugly slugfest in the 60s?
It's a good question. Yeah, I would say something that could help them is if Illinois doesn't execute well enough offensively and give them transition opportunities.
That's the other thing.
That's one thing that they do really well. If Illinois can do enough in terms of just executing offense, getting good shots, rebounding, kind of blow for blow with them in terms of that. If you make them, try to execute their offense, give them some 3-point looks and play them on the drive, play their mid-range stuff, it would be hard for them to come in here and have an offensive explosion. Save for Richardson against Oregon, although Oregon's played out to, number one, be, I don't know if overrated is the right word, but definitely a team that not nearly as good as we thought they were, or that they were ranked earlier in January, and their defensive rating has been pretty poor. So them putting up 80-plus against them it was an impressive second half, but it's not kind of a big standout in comparison to what Oregon's been doing recently.
He's the guy that you have to slow down. I mean, he's the one guy that could elevate their offense enough, because I think the problem with Michigan State all year, or just the thing that has made you skeptical of them all year, is it's like a 10-man rotation and there isn't a guy. It's just been like 10 decent players that all go out there and they play well together. They fit what Tom Izzo wants to do, like Lon was alluding to. They're more of that physical, hard-nosed, good rebounding, physical type of Izzo team. But there wasn't like, okay, you need a bucket, where do you go? Like, who's the guy that you run offense through and you feel good about it? Now it feels like Richardson's kind of turning into that, like he should have probably been all along. He's the one guy that's on NBA boards on that team, and he's the one guy that could kind of break the game open individually and have a huge night that kills you. So that's the one where you got to figure out your matchup. I'd imagine it's Kylan on him a lot, but he's the one guy that could really get going individually. He's a guy that you don't want to, let shoot, because he can knock him down. But you take him away, or you at least slow him down. Boy, I just don't think this team has enough offensively right now, unless, like you said, they're getting out and running, which is always a danger with Izzo teams.
No doubt. Yeah, that Michigan State game seemed like it was the first sign, and it happened a couple of times after that Kylan was getting beat in some of those one-on-one downhill matchups, right? Like, that was like the first real indication of this is not him at all. And he's had some games, like the Dylan Harper matchup is a tough one. 6'6", number 2 pick in the draft, is going to go do his thing.
And some of the shots he was knocking down, what are you going to do?
So I'm not going to give him too much flack for that. But this is a big matchup, especially Richardson, who scored 29 points in that Michigan State game. Speaking of defense, I wanted to run this by you, Kyle. I just ran this little search on Bart Torvik. So going back to that matchup in East Lansing, from that point forward for both teams, Illinois since then, from that point on, 8 games, they're 4-4, but the metrics is really what I want to get to. They're 11th in the country in offensive efficiency during that stretch. Defensively, and this surprises me that it's this poor, 113th.
It gives you flashbacks to last year.
Wow. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, because it hasn't felt that bad. I haven't felt like last year there was a month stretch, right, where these same types of numbers where
yes,
elite offense, but the defense is in the 130s, and you saw it on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
That team couldn't guard anybody. Coleman, at the 5 was getting picked apart. You didn't have much on the perimeter. Like, teams were killing you. I haven't felt like there's been a huge drop-off. I mean, Rutgers probably scored more than their usual in that game, but I felt like I kind of chalked that up to, well, Dylan Harper's finally back, and you got 2 NBA guys that played great. UCLA in the second half, you had one guy kill you from 3. And I wouldn't say it was a great defensive half from Illinois. UCLA puts up 53 on you. There's some real issues there, but you also guarded really well early in that game. I didn't feel like it was a disastrous defensive performance. And I don't know. Is there anything that stood out to you in terms of why that would be, or something that's deteriorated from early in the year? Is it the lineup, the new lineup where you're playing bigger guys?
I think it's possible that the Maryland game really inflated those numbers.
Good call.
That came right after Michigan State. To Wes's point, says I think those numbers indicate Tommy being out.
That's a good point. There is one game that stands out where they couldn't guard anybody.
So, giving up 91 and the numbers that Maryland had, 62 points in the paint or whatever it was, that could skew it some. Ohio State, even though you beat them, they put up 79 and had a pretty good day offensively.
That was the Shot Shark game where they were like 2 for 800 from 2, right?
That's right. You bring up a good point, though. 53 points in the second half to UCLA, not what you're looking for. So, for the most part, maybe that's a little bit skewed because of the Maryland blowout, but it does still maybe point to a defense that isn't a top tier here recently, although they guarded well in the first half against UCLA, but again, it's one that's not a lockdown defense, and we'll see if they can do it against a flawed offense. Speaking of which, during that same span, Michigan State, they're 4-3 in 7 games, 71st offensively, 19th defensively.
Let's face it, though, we didn't expect Illinois to be a top 10 defense like they were. That was a total shock when that was the case. I feel like this is turning into the profile of team you thought. And I think in some ways that's a good thing, because that's kind of what this team was built on, is tough matchup offensively, a lot of spacing, a lot of shooting around your star point guard in KJ. With Will Riley really coming on, your offense is starting to click into place, and you're starting to find the lineups you like there. If that comes at the expense of being the top 10 caliber defense you were early, I think I live with that trade-off every day. And it feels more like the team you would have thought. Not saying you should be outside the top 100 defensively. I think this team's better. Like Texter said, I think a lot of that is Tommy being out. Now you have him, and you at least have that floor. But to me, it was always going to be really hard to guard, matchup issues everywhere offensively with your NBA prospects. Defensively solid, not terrible, but, exploitable in areas. I think I'm okay with that profile.
I agree with that, no doubt about it. And they still have more of an ability defensively on the whole than what I would have expected going into the year. And I think Kylan can get back into being a lockdown defender. I don't see why he couldn't.
Is there anything like what's with that? Is it just he hasn't been that good recently? I feel like he hasn't been the lockdown guy from early. Early in the year, I thought he was awesome.
He was unbelievable for 2 months.
And now he's just kind of good.
Yeah.
But he's getting beat more.
I can't point to anything personally. I can't land on – and when you're talking ball screen defense, like I don't give him probably as much. Like Des Claude went off.
I do think he gets behind and on guys' hips a lot guarding ball screens.
Right.
To where he's in bad positions there.
I think some of that is how it's coached, unless they – have Fears might be a definite guy that you just go under every screen. For the most part, I think it's taught, if they're a decent three-point shooter, to chase over screens and have them play into the mid-range, which I think, again, Illinois will live with you taking those shots for the most part. And, Harper's a tough matchup. It was Michigan State downhill beating them. Maybe some others within that popped up, but
thought Gillespie was pretty good for Maryland, but they were so dominant on the inside.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see if he can get back to doing that. And Illinois is a good rebounding team, keeping teams off the offensive glass. That's going to be huge tomorrow night. Again, Michigan State third in the country in rebounding margin, number 1 in the Big Ten in offensive rebounding rate. And side note, I'll welcome them throwing as many, especially when Merez is in, as many Jackson Kohler post-ups as they want to take.
Any post-up with their
Carson
big
Cooper, yeah. Zapala. Have at it.
If I remember correctly, just on the rebounding point, Illinois won the rebounding battle very slightly in that first game, but Michigan State kind of dominated the second half on the offensive glass.
I think you're right. Yeah, it was 41-40 Illinois in the total rebounding battle, but I think they, like you said, had a pretty good edge at halftime, and then Michigan State really was able to gain on them in that area. 15 offensive rebounds for Illinois, 13 for Michigan State. But I think that was something that Illinois really hit them hard in the first half and then didn't get nearly as much in the second.
That's what I'm remembering. But that is going to be huge because the last thing you can let a struggling offense who is throwing up bricks from the perimeter do is have those big guys go up and tip dunk them in there and bring down some easy offensive rebounds.
Yep, no doubt about that. We'll talk more Illinois and Michigan State. By the way, Hans D in the house. We'll get to him here shortly to do some Who You Got. Always look forward to that. But before we get to Who You Got and this break coming up, let me do a little bit of work. Let me tell you about Busey, the health and wealth connection. 2 factors, health and wealth, are undeniably intertwined and both contribute to overall life satisfaction. With the help of Busey Wealth Management, gets me every time. You can navigate both wellness and security, providing the freedom and peace of mind to pursue everything else life has to offer. How can you plan for a physically fit future? Plan for long-term health, eating right, exercising, getting enough sleep, and managing stress. Schedule an appointment with a doctor before starting a new exercise program. Visit healthcare.gov for more tips. Plan for long-term wealth as well. Save for emergencies. Have enough time for 3 months to a year of expenses. Save for retirement. Experts recommend 10 to 15% of your income, but any little bit helps. Plan for emergencies with proper insurance and have an HSA, a health savings account, a tax-advantaged account to help offset high-deductible health plans. For expert advice in developing your long-term wealth plan, schedule a meeting with a member of Busey's wealth management team on Busey.com. You can also call them 1-800-67-BUSEY. Busey, member FDIC.
You've set your financial goals. One kid plans to go Big Ten, the other Ivy. Your bucket list includes seaside sunrises and sunsets on the slopes, or perhaps a second home away from it all. Busey Bank can help develop the right investment strategy to take charge of the years ahead. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
Tim Culver, owner and president of Classic Plumbing and Air.
A plumber is a person that is well-rounded. They have education, they have experience, and they are versed in more than only one phase of plumbing. A plumber is someone that has experience in all 3 phases, and they understand how all 3 of these plumbing aspects work together as well.
Was in the heating and air conditioning business for approximately 30 years and then retired in 2021. So I came out of retirement because I'm very big on taking care of our local community. The most satisfying part of my job is when I know that I've done the right thing for the customer, taking care of the customer's happy, and when I walk out the door that I'm not afraid to put a sign out in front of their house that says, "This job was done by Chuck Thompson, Classic Plumbing and Air."
Visit them at classicplum.com.
Illinois basketball season is underway. Single game tickets to see your Fighting Illini at State Farm Center are on sale now at fightingillini.com. Great seats are still available. Lock in your tickets for big games against Big Ten opponents before they're gone. Don't miss your chance to see the winningest team in the Big Ten Conference over the last 5 years. Be part of the atmosphere and get tickets at fightingillini.com.
Mom, she won't stop touching me. Broccoli stinks.
Guys, no phones at the table.
Family dinner time? Not easy. But you know what is easy? OSF On-Call Urgent Care. When you need convenient, affordable care for minor illnesses and injuries, you need OSF On-Call Urgent Care. Be seen in person or connect 24/7 online when and where you need it. Learn more at osfoncall.org/urgent care.
At Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people with amazing service, great design advice, and unbeatable selection and the best prices in town. It's the perfect time to update your home with waterproof flooring, carpet, hardwood, tile, and more. Then complete your rooms by shopping our incredible selection of furniture and accessories. We also offer great financing options. Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery, we're flooring people.
Want unbeatable prices on your next furniture purchase, but also seeking that local hometown feel? Look no further than Kelsey Furniture in Tuscola. Customers rave about their friendly, established staff, as well as their great selection, amazing prices, and second-to-none delivery service. They're a third-generation local business, and they've always got your best interests at heart. Find the look you love for less. Open 9 to 5 Monday through Saturday, but always available online at kelseyfurniture.com. That's kelseyfurniture.com. At Pards in Urbana, the boots just keep on coming. They're known for their huge collection of men's cowboy boots, women's cowgirl boots, kids' boots, and even shoes. If you're searching for top footwear brands, look no further than Pards. They carry a wide variety, including Ariat, Dan Post, Smoky Mountain, Roper, Double H, and more. And if socks or accessories are what you need, they've got all your high-quality essentials. Since 1968, Pards has been serving their customers with high-quality merchandise. And if you haven't been to Pards in a while, a lot has changed. Go check them out just off University Avenue in Urbana.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Let's welcome in Hans D, who's joined us in the house. What's up, Hans? It's going great, man. Going great. You excited for tomorrow night's action? You going to be there? Love it. Love it. Yeah, I guess so. I was just talking to you guys during the break. I can't remember the last. They used to do the Paint the Hall orange, which, of course, it's not the Hall anymore, although real ones know, still the Assembly Hall. You brought up a good point. They've been doing like the striped stadium thing here recently, which the Tennessee game you said. So it's not. I keep mentioning Paint the Hall orange. It's not an official Paint the Hall orange, but with all of the Terrence Shannon T-shirts in every seat, and they're all orange, it's going to give off that vibe, which Saturday night, Fox, Michigan State in town, TJ, the place should be on fire.
We're having some trouble with Hans's mic. I think Lon might have rigged it for him or something.
Man, he unplugged it on his way out. That's crazy.
It should be working from my end.
All right.
Lon must have sabotaged him or something.
Okay. We'll have to effort that. Let's maybe... Are you there? Let's take a quick break if we can and try to sort this thing out. We'll be back. It is a drive.
Are you tired of shivering in the winter? Look no further than your local heroes at ABC Heating and Air Conditioning. Hi, this is Gina inviting you to give us a call at 217-352-5400 to book your appointment to make sure your furnaces run safely and efficiently this winter. We've been proudly locally owned and operated and have been serving our community for over 50 years. ABC, always be comfortable. Call me 217-352-5400 to book your appointment today or go to abcheatingandac.com.
Take charge of the years ahead with a smart, sound investment strategy and business succession plan. Busey Bank's business and wealth management experts help you envision your best future with powerful insights and proven strategies. Building business and growing wealth since 1868. Busey Bank, proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
Tim Onstott, talk to me about Dedicated Diesel and Dixie Chopper. Anything new here?
Now's a great time to get over to see Andy and get your Dixie Chopper picked out. Make a deal with him. Financing available. There's discounts for first responders, all kinds of things. Andy can run through that and help you out. I know most people aren't thinking about mowing yet, but this is the time that the prices are going to be their lowest.
And Gale Ferrex Trucking, how's everything?
Oh, we're trucking along. It's busy right now. We have 2 empty seats. I think we filled one up last week. We had a nice young guy come in and get set up, and he's going to be going out here in a week or so, and that'll leave us 2 seats for somebody that wants a guaranteed gross pay for the week and wants to have some home time and be able to enjoy his family also.
Awesome. And how do they contact Tim Onstott?
They can get me at Timo, Timo, at gftlog.com or call the office at 765-793-7131.
Mental health challenges can take a toll on a person dealing with some serious issues. It can be difficult trying to find strategies to take care of a loved one. NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, has a free family-to-family 8-session educational program, March 25th through May 13th on Tuesdays, from 6:30 to 9 p.m. at OSF Medical Center, 1400 West Park Street in Urbana in Auditorium B. Recovery is a journey. Sharing experiences while getting positive reinforcement during the upcoming class with friends, family, and significant others who have mental health conditions can help you find hope. You are not alone. 988 is the Mental Health Crisis and Suicide Prevention Line. Support groups, conferences, social events, and classes that offer presentations, discussions, and interactive exercises can help. Visit NAMIChampaign.org.
All right, let's try this thing again. Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Hans D, are you there?
Hello, am I here?
I think we're good. Are we good?
We're good.
Awesome.
How about that?
Fantastic.
So we don't have to rehash the conversation that I apparently had with myself.
Yeah, Derek is
during
not
that
crazy.
last segment.
I can only imagine the people that are tuned in like, what is this? There's nobody there. Are they doing a bit? Like they're pretending Hans is here?
I guess so. The orange out. It's going to happen, and Hans D's going to be in the house.
Yes, I'm so excited.
You're going to be there. Were you there for UCLA?
Yeah, that was a cool game. Sky didn't really go off.
Were you down with the chants by the Crush? No?
Not the Sky sucks chant. I'm like, I just hate that one. I'm sorry. But it's just like, why are we chanting that in the first minute of the game? This guy could easily go off on us, and then we look like idiots. We as in the Orange Crush, but, whatever. At least, save that chant for the end of the game when he scores only, 5 points, whatever he scored. Save it for that. Don't start going off on him right now. I think that happened last year. I don't remember who, but maybe it was against Michigan State, and they were saying this person sucks. And then he scored 35 on us. Yeah, nice job, guys. Real good.
They've hit some guys in the past with some overrated early in the game. That's probably not a good idea.
I think they were getting on EJ Liddell a ton when he came back, and he had a monster game one time. And then he tweeted after the game, he's like, "What the vile stuff I was hearing in Champaign." I think that's one that comes to mind. I don't remember. Did Dickinson have any good games? Because I'm sure they were.
I think he always lost. That's the thing. Even if he had a good game, he never really had the last laugh to be able to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do remember the EJ games.
Oh, yeah.
At least one.
Who could forget? How bad do you think Illinois fans want this game against
Very
Michigan
bad.
State because of how much that one hurt last time? And add in the TJ, which is another thing to it. But Izzo, there's been an extra level of he gets on my nerves, he complains, this and that, and
I think the ones that are really active on Twitter want this one bad.
Yeah,
really bad.
No doubt. Boy, that's going to be. Do you think there'll be any added brush up or extra touch to light this thing on fire, like rivalry wise? It's hard to predict that. Yeah. If it will get to that, I don't know.
I don't know if it's a player thing. There's one thing where like the players on Illinois and Iowa hated each other, and you knew there was probably going to be some type. Even the coaching staff was getting into it with Chin Coleman and whatnot. It's not really a player-driven thing from the last time. It's more the fan bases bickering back and forth and the Izzo factor. So I don't know if it's going to be like a dust-up between players. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're both extra juiced up.
Let's do this, and I'll pitch it out to the text line, 217-359-2255. If there was going to be a player on this team to mix it up, who would it be? Now, we've already seen Tommy kind of be.
I think there's one guy that's done it already. Twice, actually.
Tommy?
Tommy.
Yeah.
He's got something to him. He's not. He's willing. He sees something. I think he's going to get all into it.
I could see KJ being a surprise.
Yeah.
But, I think, like you mentioned, he gave Sky a little shoulder.
He did.
I've seen him do little things here and there, just showing, like, talking or physically, like, doing something to another player. Like, he might. But
a little chippiness in there.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I've seen some Kylan trash talk at times on the floor. I feel like he's an underrated candidate to kind of just get in the face. Like the DeMonte Connor McCaffrey where he doesn't even say anything. He just like nose to nose with a guy. Because I've seen him. I forget what game it was, but he was like talking to somebody.
Wow.
I can't remember. I could see Dre being that guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's always one for a flex after a big play or something like that, and could be a little chatty. Could Jake Davis be a forehead-to-forehead guy? I feel like he's like an underrated sleeper, like forehead-to-forehead with somebody. Maybe not. Brad says that he wouldn't want to see him in a Pizza Hut parking lot. I don't know.
I think it's possible. He could just come out of nowhere, but especially because normally those things start with some type of like encore thing. He's just in there mixing it up with one of their big men on a rebound and like hooks his arm or something, and then they go after it.
I want it to be Kohler and Jake Davis because I want it to be like some of the worst hair you can have against some of the best. That being Kohler on the worst side. Whatever he's got. What do you even call that? I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
It's not a good look.
It's like he wants to like do the mohawk look, but it's not a mohawk, so he just like spikes up the front. It's so weird. It looks awful.
Yeah, what is that?
Wes says I want a Kylan chest bump to Fears. Those guys go back a ways. They're old buddies, and when Fears was getting close to committing to Illinois, he was trying to recruit Kylan to come with him to the Illini, and ultimately it didn't happen that way. But those families and players on the court have a history here in the state of Illinois. Andrew says Trey has a little bit of that in him. He likes to snatch the ball and give a little extra shove. 651, Tommy and KJ both have some stuff to their game. DGL too. And Matt says got to make sure not to let Tom break the record on our floor. It means a lot.
Yeah, that'd be a double whammy, wouldn't it? It'd be Michigan State sweeps you and beats you in your building after all the fan base chatter, and Tom is like getting interviewed on your floor celebrating breaking the wins record. That can't happen.
Be hard to stomach, wouldn't it?
On a Saturday night primetime home game in your building, no. That would feel really gross.
Devastating.
And that's one thing that still has yet to This has not been a good spot for Illinois to be in. And Michigan State, with some of their recent losses, has gone down in profile a little bit. So they're not probably at this level that I'm about to mention. But some of the, like, game of the year at home vibes have not gone Illinois' way. Tennessee, last year Marquette, and also Purdue. The year before that, well, actually 2 years ago, or not, sorry, the year before the Meyer and Shannon year was the Big Ten title year. Again, Purdue that year, and Arizona coming to town. So just some of these huge, again, like biggest game at home all season hasn't gone Illinois' way seemingly in a while. Is there one I'm missing? I mean, UCLA was a nice win, but it's not the biggest win of the season. They weren't ranked. They are a quad one win. I did the story on the quad ones, which already paint a picture of Illinois hasn't had the conversion rate that you'd want in terms of quad one home games, but it's just seemed
I honestly think the last time it was successful was to clinch the Big Ten 2 years ago against Iowa, or 3 years ago now.
That's a good one.
But that's how long ago it's been, and you've had chances. It has felt like every big home game, Illinois has been right there and lost. It's not like they've gotten run out of the gym or anything like that, but they've just come up short. Let's change that. You got 2 more of them, Michigan State and Purdue. You just wrote about it, the quad one home games. Like, you got to win these. There's no more room for losing close. If you're the team that you should be, you win these games at home.
For sure.
And we talked about the conference home records. To get to that 8-2 mark, you got to win out at home. You dropped your 2 already, and they were 2 you shouldn't have dropped.
Isn't that crazy? 5 straight years they've been 8-2 in the Big Ten at home. And if they win out the rest of the way at home, at least, beating Michigan State, Iowa, and Purdue, they'd be 8-2 once again. Could happen. Still a very tall task.
But for some reason, I'm confident it happens. I think this team can do it. I think they win. Well, I'm not going to say. We're going to get to that in 10 minutes. I'm confident heading into tomorrow. You're going to beat Iowa. If you don't, there's bigger problems there. And then that Purdue game, I think there's in the back of your mind, like Purdue has kind of owned you recently. But boy, talk about another hype home spot. I wonder how that one's going to look, because is Purdue coming here trying to win the Big Ten? Because there's real scenarios where they have a lot to play for.
The interesting part of that is Illinois might be trying to, not directly, but do them a favor by going to Ann Arbor right before that. And if they beat Michigan, that could actually help Purdue then maybe play for a Big Ten title on that final day. We'll see. There's still plenty of games to have this thing swing one way or another. But it is a very tight race at the top, with Michigan having a slight lead over Purdue as of right now. All right, we are going to pick these games here coming up. Who you got? We'll get to the weekend slate. And, of course, as Hans D. likes to say, the game of the week, Illinois and Michigan State tomorrow night. Stick around, and we will have our picks. Will the Illini get it done, or is Tom Izzo going to prevail once again? Find out coming up next. It is The Drive.
It seems like the cost of everything is on the rise, but Erie Insurance can help make sure your auto insurance premium isn't one of them. Avoid rate increases with Erie Rate Lock. Even if you have a claim, your rates won't go up until you change a car, driver, or address.
Your Erie agent in Champaign is Thomas & Ellers Insurance.
Erie Rate Lock is not available in all states. Other conditions and limitations at erieinsurance.com. Go to erieinsurance.com for company licensure and product details.
From computer systems to brakes and tires too, at PDR, fixing cars is what they do. Remember, when you turn the key and the car won't run, call 367-9481 or use their dedicated text-only line at 383-0619. Additional information, including repair quotes and online scheduling requests, available from the website at pdrauto.com. Remember, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
Calling all brave souls to the Polar Plunge with us at the annual Law Enforcement Torch Run Polar Plunge at the Lake of the Woods in Mahomet on Saturday, February 15th, starting at noon. Donations from the Polar Plunge ensure free year-round sports trainings, competition, health initiatives, and athlete leadership programs to local Special Olympic Illinois athletes. Raise $100 in donations to take the plunge and receive the official Polar Plunge hoodie. Register today at plungeillinois.com. Thank you to the Mahomet Polar Plunge gold sponsors, UC Bank, Dick's House of Sports, Heartland Coca-Cola, Domino's, Corbin Bell Dive and Rescue, and Stevie J Broadcasting.
Hi, this is Vanessa Duncan with Special Olympics Illinois, Region I. Recruit your friends and family to be on your Polar Plunge team and raise donations for Special Olympics Illinois.
Be cool this winter and take the Polar Plunge. The 2025 Law Enforcement Torch Run Polar Plunge supporting Special Olympics will be at the Lake of the Woods in Mahomet on Saturday, February 15th. Register today at plungeillinois.com. That's plungeillinois.com.
Finishing up on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. We're going to get to who you got. Before we do that real quick, I want to ask Hans. Hans, are you not flying Johnny Newton into town to be back for TJ's thing?
I wish.
Johnny might actually be in town as we speak. Brett Bielema mentioned that today, that Johnny will be there tomorrow night for Terrence's jersey thing.
That would have been a cool trip.
Would have been.
No.
You were just at the Super Bowl.
I was. That was amazing.
Did you fly down there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Big deal.
It was
Big
so
man.
cool.
Saw some of the pictures. In a minute or so, just set the scene for us if you can down in the NOLA.
I mean, the streets were packed. Bourbon Street was really cool because they had the Fox Sports set up. Yeah, it was like what Mardi Gras probably is, but with a football twist to it. So it was like right down my alley. I went to the football experience thing in their convention center. So I got a picture next to the Lombardi Trophy and then looked at all the Super Bowl rings. I saw Chase Brown signing stuff, but the line was so long. I'm like, no way. And but yeah, that was really cool to just see all the NFL, I guess. There was some like Hall of Fame stuff in there as well from Canton. Just that experience was really cool. Checking out New Orleans for the first time, Bourbon Street, Frenchman Street. That was very cool. Canal Street. And then the game was insane. It was so loud. Louder than anything I've ever experienced at the Assembly Hall.
Really?
I almost felt like, protecting my ears. Because it was just insane. And we were kind of on the Eagles side. So we had more Eagles fans around us, which was, I'd say, a good thing in a way, just because of how the game was going. If it was the other way
turned into
around,
a party over on that side
Lord.
of the thing, yeah.
Yeah. But it was just so cool. Halftime show was cool to see, like, in person, but it was nothing much. Sorry, I'm not hating, but I kind of am. He didn't play swimming pools or money trees. Like, what's that? But no, that was amazing. So
that's the verdict from the DJ. If you're not impressing the DJ, then you didn't do the job.
It wasn't a horrible halftime show. It just wasn't that good.
Yeah,
it was like mid. It was perfectly mid.
Yep.
But
I had
was
the same take.
Crazy experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you invited to all the exclusive parties and whatnot? Surely, that's what you were there for.
I did meet Steve Lyons, who pitched for the White Sox and Red Sox.
Sweet.
And he announced for the Red Sox later on in 2018 when they won the World Series. So he had a ring, and I put it on, took a picture with it.
Nice.
That was kind of cool.
Nice.
I met the Costco guys, the dad and the son.
Really?
Like the boom.
Big Justice.
Oh, God. They were standing in front of the hotel doing nothing. I'm like, yeah, I might as well. So I asked the captain, like, hey, can you just take a picture with me and the Costco guys? Like, perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, and I met John Summit, who's like a big DJ. He went to U of I too, but
really,
yeah, it was just very, very cool.
They got to, how they do like running back U, and it only needs to be DJ U.
True, very true.
Could be. All right, got to get enough time for the game. So Kyle, drop the F-ball. Let's get rolling.
All right, first up, we've got a game tonight. UCLA visiting Indiana. UCLA is favored by 2.5 points. Who you got?
Kyle he was the first one to make me familiar with the stat, and I've seen it now out there that UCLA hasn't won a game outside of the Pacific time zone.
Uh-oh.
Will they get it done? Indiana riding high after the win against Michigan State. I still can't believe how close they are to the cut line for the tournament. You would think that the year that they've had, they would be nowhere in the picture, but bracketologists have them not that far out, just on maybe the wrong side of the bubble, but can work their way back in. I think UCLA brings them down tonight. I think they get it done, and the defense of UCLA will turn over Indiana. And I just haven't liked Indiana's guard play. I thought Miles Rice was going to have a lot better season than he has. Just hasn't been able to do it. And Indiana will show, even though Michigan State, they were able to hold them down. They just have not been a good defense this year. So I'll go UCLA on the road.
I agree. I'm taking UCLA to finally break through in the Central Time Zone. Now that they've gotten to actually stay here for a couple days, hopefully. there's no post-game rants by Mick Cronin complaining about the travel. Because didn't they play like 7 straight games on the West Coast before coming to Illinois? They hadn't left in a month.
Yeah.
So it all evens out. I think, I'm still not a believer in Indiana, even after beating Michigan State. I think we saw Bilodeau kill Illinois with his pick and pop ability. I think he'll torch Indiana's front court, and just that UCLA front court can give them issues. I'll take the Bruins.
All right. The Bruins will beat the Bloomington Boogers. All right. Tomorrow, number 16, Wisconsin at number 7, Purdue. Purdue's favored by 5 points. Who you got?
Purdue rarely loses at Mackey. They already lost there once this year against Ohio State, which does show maybe they're a little bit more vulnerable than pre-losing. This is going to sound really stupid. Pre-losing Zach Edey, so during the Zach Edey era. But I still trust that team. They're playing, although they just lost to Michigan. I think Matt Painter will get his squad right, and they'll show up and be ready to play. Wisconsin, really good offense, can really shoot the three. If they are lighting it up from beyond the arc, they can really, hang with anybody in the Big Ten, obviously. So, but I'll go with the Paint Crew and company at home.
Yeah, Purdue at home and coming off a loss. No way. This is the spot where they win by 28. So I think they handle Wisconsin.
Moving on to non-conference, number 6, Houston, visiting number 13, Arizona, 1 p.m. tomorrow. Houston favored by only a point. Who you got?
Tough one. Houston's a team that I still need to see more of. Obviously know that they're an incredible defensive team, hard-nosed. You can say that about any of Kelvin Sampson's teams year in and year out. Arizona's played so much better over the last month and a half from their start, although they are coming off a loss at Kansas State. So watch out if they make the tournament. Wow. Not that they would go deep or anything.
They are red hot. They've beaten like 3 top 10 teams, too.
Including Iowa State in there as well. And then just wait for the tourney committee to be like, Illinois 6 seed or Kansas State 11 seed. Grab the popcorn. I'll go Houston. I think they're just the better team, even though if it's a Caleb Love heater, you never know. But Houston defensively can probably bottle him up pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you again there. I think Houston's the type of team that travels, and their defense is so good. Caleb Love feels primed for a 3-for-20 night against that Houston defense, so I'll take Houston.
I'll just call for the upset, slight upset, Arizona taking Houston.
Don't hate it.
Next up, number 1, Auburn at number 2, Alabama. This should be a good game. Alabama's favored by a point.
The old Iron Bowl basketball version. I have, ever since seeing Bama against Illinois, I've felt like their peak is the best in the country. Even though Auburn's is it's sensational, and there's some Duke I'm looking forward to seeing in person here next weekend. But at home, I like Alabama. I think Alabama is going to light up the scoreboard and they'll get it done. I just like their ceiling, and I think that they're really starting to click.
Yeah, I'm kind of all in on Alabama as like a national title team. It's always been Auburn, Duke, but then they're just sitting there and they throw 100 on you like it's nothing. I would be surprised if they lose this one at home, especially knowing how much hatred there is in that rivalry. Give me Bama.
All right, I'll go Bama too. Number 20, Michigan visiting Ohio State at noon on Sunday. Michigan at 19-5, Ohio State 15-10. Who you guys got?
Man, I'm tempted to go a little upset here. I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to say things get really weird in the Big Ten title chase. And after winning 5 in a row and a big win against Purdue, Ohio State gets them in Columbus.
The problem with letting you go first is it sounds like I'm just copying every pick you do, but you haven't picked anything different than me yet. I was going to pick this upset too. It feels like Michigan is that team all year that's won by like 2 every night. They've been really good. They lead the conference, but every game is 2-point game, 3-point game. They can lose to anybody, and I think certainly at Ohio State's a team that could pick them off with the guard play on Ohio State. I like the Buckeyes here. Michigan coming off the biggest win of their year. I think they let down here a little bit.
All right. Game of the week.
Let's do it.
We'll finish on time today, I think.
Maybe.
I wonder why. All right, 11th ranked Michigan State Spartans face the Illini in Champaign tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Michigan State is 10-3 in the Big Ten. Illinois 9-6. KJ